Johnson. Of course you know they call me Napalm, and this is episode 102 of This Week in Grip. Today I'm joined by Alan Hynek, Esquire. You like that name, Alan? I've called you that for like 2 years.
That works fine. Yeah, I'm all right with it.
Yeah, you better be all right with it. And we got James, Professor Crowbar Retorides, and we're going to be talking about a recent trip to Slim the Hammerman's birthday party that James and I were at, and the recent episode of Strongest Man in History, where Brian Shaw and Eddie Hall lift the old school York 45s. We'll go into that topic a little bit. Before we get started, I want to remind everyone, please give the video a like by hitting the thumbs up button. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you get notifications every time a new video comes out. And be part of the show. Please leave a comment below about what you think about today's topics. We'll be talking about stuff. Weigh in. Let us know what you think. So, James, I wanted to ask you this before we get started.
Yes,
so what's the history of the Professor Crowbar nickname? Because I just saw that you changed your name to that on Instagram a few weeks back, and I forgot to ask or didn't have an opportunity before.
Well, when I arm wrestled, my nickname was the Professor. So because not because I was strong, because I always heard from every person I ever lost to I wasn't strong. I was just very technical and crafty. I was crafty. That was the one my favorite. But anyway,
hold on, because I don't arm wrestle. Remember, so is that like a dig at you to make you feel bad, or is that something to make them feel better, or is that something that just gets said about someone who's truly technically sound?
All of the above, but it's definitely a backhanded compliment. And it's a way to protect the ego. It's like, well, I mean, I'm twice as strong as James, and I outweigh him by 100 pounds, but he's just really crafty and slick on the table, So.
James was actually telling us earlier that he had a little run-in with a scale earlier today.
Oh, geez, we got to talk about that? That was for your ears only, Jed. And then Alan joined in. Yes, I'm a fat ass. I'm up to 239 pounds. Okay, everyone?
It might pay, James, to calibrate that scale, because somehow that might work out in your favor.
Okay,
if you don't like what they say. Yes, just tweak the number. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I point calibrated all my scales. It has nothing to do with grip sport competitions.
Well,
you got to cook the books.
Alan is an Esquire, so he is a legal man of letters. He is a doctorate of law, and I am a professor of arm wrestling. And neither one of us would have any idea how to do that with a scale. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. Unless there's a really simple thing that you can do in the instructions, which, I probably threw out, with the box 7 years ago when I bought the scale. Anyway, for anyone who cares, which nobody does, I'm 239.
Well, if your scale is lasting 7 years, then I know that you haven't been training with Joe Sullivan, because he's like the scale breaker.
Oh, no. Look, the funniest thing that we have ever seen in Bob's yard is this. There was one day, all right, where, Bob was just being kind of especially quiet. He wasn't saying much because, Bob can be the brooding type. I love Bob. I think I've told you guys before, once in a while he'll say or do something that is so much funnier than anyone else, it's unbelievable. And it's always perfectly timed. Well, one day I think he was trying to go over 300 pounds on like a V-bar or something, or it was like an adjustable thick bar lift. Whatever it was, it pushed the limits of his scale. So he lifts it, and he's got the video rolling, and then he goes to put it on the scale, and the scale won't work. So he takes it off, and then he's trying to hit the on button on the scale, and it would come on for a second, then it would flutter and go off. Finally, he picks up the scale. I mean, picture him holding it like a pizza box, okay? He walks over to his garbage can, opens it with one hand, then whips it around in this windmill motion with the other hand, and just chucks it into the garbage and just storms into his house. Jason and I were looking at each other like, what just happened? And then 30 seconds later, as calm as day, like none of it ever happened, Bob walks out with a scale that is the same model as the one that he just chucked into the garbage. And he calmly plugs it in, and sets it up and zeroes it and weighs it. I was beside myself in laughter. I think I almost passed out.
So he just keeps piles of these backup scales in the house.
He had backups, yeah.
He had a backup.
Does he have like a drawer of them?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe he's got like a drawer in his room with boxes of scales. But Jason and I, there have been several times. Jason and I, we have this sort of wavelength thing where we'll just look at each other and we just can't stop laughing. And it's always surrounding moments like that because that was vintage Bob. That was beautiful. So.
Did you bother opening the trash can to see how many scales were already in it?
No, I missed out on that. I probably should have done that. Yeah. But to answer the rest of Jed's question, that's the professor part of it. And the crowbar part of it is that since I stopped arm wrestling, and my arm pops and tweaks, once in a while I'll go to a practice and I'll tell everybody I'm going to break out the old rusty crowbar. So that's where Professor Crowbar comes from.
Now, is there another meaning to rusty crowbar that I don't know about?
No, just it's old and rusty, but it still works, essentially, is the joke.
Okay. There's another rusty something out there that's like Urban Dictionary terminology.
Well, yeah, there must be like an adult film actor that has that nickname or something.
I'm sure.
Not yet, Alan. That's my retirement plan. That's my retirement plan, So there will be, though. You're right, Alan. You're seeing into the future. Alan Hynek, Esquire, a.k.a. Time Traveler.
So I didn't even know that Esquire had to do with, like, a lawyer or anything. I just know that, like, the one guy from Bill and Ted's.
That's what I was thinking, too. I also didn't know what it was.
That's literally the only reason why.
That was my connection as well.
Yeah.
It's an informative call so far today.
I'm clearly speaking to a couple of very learned men.
Yes.
They're coming out with a Bill and Ted 3 or whatever too, Alan.
That's awesome.
I think I heard that. Yeah. They're getting both the original characters in that one.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, dude. Listen, both those guys look a lot better than the kid from Goonies. Because in the last in the last 2 weeks,
You talking about Rudy?
Yeah, Rudy. Yeah, Sean Astin.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a guy that he was a year behind me in school. We played Little League together. Casey Watkins. I was like, oh my God, Casey Watkins is in Stranger Things. It turns out to be Sean Astin. I was like, holy cow! I thought he made it. I lost track of the guy. I don't see him that much, so I don't know what he's doing. You know what I mean? I was like, holy crap! He's on Netflix original series, Stranger Things. No, it ends up being Rudy. It ends up being the kid from Goonies. But
Jed, I'm not sure if you're going to have to cut this out later, like one of my other lines. But he kind of looks like an old lesbian to me.
An old what?
No, don't cut that out. We need to hear some comments on this one.
Have you guys watched that show? Or do you guys do that? Netflix stuff?
I see some stuff. I watched that Bird Box movie, which was
okay.
I don't know where the hell all those memes came from.
All right.
That was like stupid. Yeah.
I like that movie, but anyway, Stranger Things or no?
No, I know a lot of people are into it, though. I don't know, man. I get home so late from work on weekdays. It's like, what's on TV? And if there's something interesting, I watch it. Otherwise, it's walk the dogs, play catch with my youngest son, and knock off to bed kind of thing. So.
Okay, I never heard anybody's excuse for not watching Netflix being that they get home late, but that's okay. That's all right.
Well, that's a good point. I'm a little busy in the mornings, trying to work out and stuff, Jed, and treatment plan. I apologize.
And then one more thing, James, I know that you're a previous baseball player like me. Have you checked out the YouTube channel Jomboy Media, Jomboy Media?
No.
All right, you got to check it out. It's like probably greater than 50% of the videos are like 2 minutes long, maybe 2.5 minutes or less. And what they do is they look at clips of Major League Baseball games where there's been some kind of, a clash, whether there's an argument between the manager and the umpire or the player and the umpire, or I just watched one where the pitcher was begging not to be taken out of the game, stuff like that. They'll have hot mics where people are dropping F-bombs and they'll lip read, stuff like that. It's really creative stuff.
Yeah. I had plenty of those visits to the mound when I was in high school, trust me. So, it would be very nostalgic for me to watch, I'm sure.
Check it out. And, Alan, I know that you don't know anything about baseball, so I'm not ignoring you. That's why I didn't bring that up. So.
Sure. No, you might as well sneak in some wrestling stuff while you're at it.
Hey, Alan, just really quickly, Alan, did you end up getting together with Aaron Corcoran?
No, he's supposed to be coming next weekend was when he was going to be in the area.
Okay.
Yep.
Great.
No, we had some exchanges on the grip board there via Messenger, and he was going to be up within about an hour or so of me on I think 27th, 28th, something like that. If we can make something work. So.
Good old AC. Get with him.
Oh, it'd be great to meet him and pick his brain and have him lift some of my heavy crap.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Alan, I've been pointing people your way for the King Kong grip also. There's a guy named Ryan Boost on Instagram that I ended up interacting with over the course of the last week regarding old school York pinches, and he might end up coming up to the King Kong at your place.
Cool.
He's in Wisconsin. So.
Okay, great. Well, yeah, if there's somebody out there that wants to try, I too have old school Yorks. I don't have two sets like what you have, Jed, but I do have a pair. So my gym is always open to anybody wanting to try some of that crap. I can't lift it, so somebody else might as well. So,
cool. That's cool.
Plenty of options for people.
That reminds me. Oh, crap. What was I just going to say? It was amazing. Oh, what were you just saying, Alan? Oh, no. Oh, crap. It was perfect. Oh.
Jed's long-term memories are turning into short-term ones. His long-term memory issues. Yeah.
Well, we were just talking about Wisconsin and then
Aaron Corcoran, Yorks. Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. It's gone. It's totally gone. Darn, it was perfect. It was timely
happened
too.
To me.
I remember what it was. Check out this story. Now I don't want to make you cry. Okay, guys? I'm not trying to make you cry. I'm just telling you the stuff that, this is my life. Okay? This is the stuff that happens to me all the time.
Okay.
I get a text message from Steve Pulcinella, which, James, you met Steve at the Hammerman party. Remember Steve?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about, Alan?
Is he that powerlifter guy?
Yeah, he's like the guy that pretty much invented "Do you even lift, bro?"
Okay, yeah, I do know. He's hilarious. He's hilarious.
Yeah,
he's just a funny guy. Yeah.
He's hilarious. So I get a text, or not a text. I get an Instagram message from him. He's like, "Hey, what's the going price on an inch dumbbell?" Figuring maybe he wants to buy from us at through me and Steve Slater,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, in my experience, I know that they're $450 new, and then or along that, and then usually if someone's selling them, they're trying to get money quick, so it's like $250 to $300. So I follow up with him because he wanted to help. So what happened is this lady, her husband died, and he has a whole collection of grip items, like a ton of stuff, dude. He sent me pictures. It's just amazing, all this stuff. But he passed away, and the widow wanted to sell the stuff, get it out of her house, and he wanted to make sure that she got the best price possible. So he was asking me what my thoughts would be. So I follow up with him, dude. She put the stuff on Facebook rummage sale, and sold the inch dumbbell for guess how much?
$100.
$100.
Yeah, I saw your post.
$100.
Ugh.
$100. Same dude picked up at least one half 100-pound blob.
So the dude knew what he was buying then.
Yeah, it's there's somebody out there that just made like a really big expansion on his grip equipment because I mean I'm seeing legacies in there. I'm seeing countless like a whole progression of York blobs, York plates.
Wow.
Not old school Yorks, but York plates.
Who is this? Can you share the person's name?
What person's name?
The person that passed on and the woman that was selling all this stuff?
I'll give the last name. The wife's last name was Lane, Lain. And they're in their 60s or so, and I don't know who that could have been. I can't think of a person.
No, I don't either. But it sounds like he had a nice assortment of stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Normally people got all that kind of crap. You've heard of them. So.
Right. Exactly. Okay. But he's got a Sorinex T-Rex grip machine. Lots of stuff in there, dude. I mean, I was ready to drive down yesterday and miss a workout.
The inch went for $100.
$100, bro.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was
that's
inch, so it's like consider that like limited edition because they don't make them anymore.
Well, yeah, right.
That Sorinex right on it, I should say.
Wow. So it's like the same one Bob has, yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yep.
That is.
I would have.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen often.
Yeah, dude. How far would you drive to get an inch dumbbell, legit inch dumbbell, for $100?
I'd drive a day. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, and I don't even need one. Yeah, I'd just go to get. Yeah, no question.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, good. You know what? I tell you what, though. I guess I'm glad to hear that somebody got it and that it didn't get the chop saw put to it or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Because that kind of shit happens. So nice.
Out of curiosity, just out of curiosity, Jed.
Yeah.
You said there were some blobs. Were there any York dumbbells that weren't massacred? And if so, what would those weights be?
Let me look through the pictures one more time. Steve's at Iron Sport Gym in Philadelphia too. If anybody, maybe they don't know the name Steve Pulcinella, but they probably heard of the gym.
The guy probably didn't have room for his Sawzall in the trunk of his car, so he left it there for them to just cut the rest of the dumbbells up, James.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I don't see a single full dumbbell here, but it looks like damn near a complete set every 5-pound jump of York single head. A mix between.
Oh my gosh!
It looks like a mix between Fat Man and Next Gen, and then there's just a handful of legacies, and the picture's just out of focus enough that
she could
tell what the weight
she could
is.
double the price on all that crap, and it would still go fast.
Yeah, dude. I probably would drive a day for a $200.
Yes, absolutely. That is. Personally, if I saw something like that, I think rather than taking advantage of the situation, I definitely kind of have to say, okay, you really know what you've got here,
Yeah,
because
I've actually done that before, Alan.
Yes, because that's just otherwise you're robbing somebody. I mean, that's just I don't like that because you could still pay a couple $100, $250 even. You get something out of the deal, she got something out of the deal, and it's not something you'd still wound up any other way. Kind of both parties win. Otherwise, you're just sticking it to somebody, because even when that dude bought that was way more than $100 then,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Good point.
Well, that's a shame.
Point. Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on.
Those are all the topics that I wanted to bring up. So now that we've got the saddest news in grip history, I'm kidding, of course, but
well, we got it, James. What dumbbells are you still after for your collection, anyway?
Well, I need, just in terms of the round heads, I need 75s, 95s. Those are going to be hard to find. I've had a really tough time finding those. And then I have to get 55s, 75s, 95s, and then I need an orphan 60 and 65, and I'm done. So.
What about
an orphan 65 and 55?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, an orphan 60 and 65 because I have 160 and I have 165.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What are you saying for orphaned? What does that mean? Just
Just
a single?
one.
So you're just one dumbbell.
Yeah.
And you don't care if they're fat mans or next gens or either or?
No, I don't care.
Okay.
What about legacy?
I have an assortment. I have a nice assortment. So if they're York roundheads, that's cool. I mean, I got some, sort of miscellaneous buns and globes as well. I have a couple of legacy bells, but those are just the ones that are over 100. So.
Do you need the 145?
Do I need a 145? I would love a 145, Jed.
Do you need a pair of 145s?
I would like one, but I would buy two. Like if they would only come in a pair, I would get two. Yeah.
Well, so my ultimate goal, as you know, is to bench 150s. And I don't need legacy dumbbells, but 150s that actually weigh 150.
Yeah.
And I know where there's a set of dumbbells that are 150s, rubber-coated 150s that look pretty sweet. And I was thinking about going up getting those, and maybe we can talk, and you could end up with these 145s because...
That'd be great, man. Yeah, I would appreciate that. I really would because, man, I really want a 150. That's what I want. I want a 150 legacy bell or just any bell that says 150 on it. So, after I curl an actual 150 in plates, I can do it with a bell that's got the number on it, whether it's a little over 150 or a little under. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Just so people don't think that I'm, doing some kind of shady stuff with my scale, like we were talking about before, getting in there.
Right, finding every light plate that you have and putting it on there, and it should be 150, but it's actually like 140 or something like that.
Or just, I try to keep the scale in the frame and always put the dumbbell on the scale, what I mean, like right after I do it, so that there's no question about it. But, either way, someone's going to say, oh, well, how do you know your scale's accurate? Or there's going to be something,
Sure.
So, which I don't care. It's not about that anyway. It's about me knowing I got there. So.
Well, put that on the list of possibilities. I got
that would be great,
Jed. Still has the 150s. It's been about a week since I talked to him, so. And it's going to be a while before I'm going to be able to take a 4-hour drive unless it's for a $100 inch dumbbell. So.
Yeah, right.
But that's all right. But that's possibility. I wanted to bring that up with you too, James.
I appreciate it.
Any other miscellaneous stuff, guys, or should we get into the topics for this week?
Well, yeah, we can go main topics. You want to save maybe a couple of minutes just for feats at the end? Because there's just a couple of things I saw that I thought, deserved a mention. So. Yeah,
let's save that towards the end, and we'll report on what we've seen. The first topic that we were going to cover was the trip that we took to Slim the Hammerman Farman's birthday party in I guess that was June, end of June. James,
it was last day in June.
Last day in June, so June 30th, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know. I've talked a lot today, James. Why don't you talk about how you found out about it and stuff like that, and then we'll compare notes.
Well, I found out about it because I was invited by Dennis Rogers, which I believe you were too, right, Jeff?
That's correct. And jump in, Alan. Alan, jump in whenever you have questions.
Yep. Now, was this invite only? Is that how this works?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would have. It's interesting because it was kind of late notice, but he had said, "Hey, if you want to bring Robert Miller up, we'd love to have Robert up." And I said, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Let me contact him," but it was kind of late notice for Robert. He couldn't get it off work because he works a lot of weekends, so he couldn't make it up. But that's all right. I made it part of my annual road trip that I take to get away from work and the world, essentially. And,
so this is an annual affair?
That I do? Oh, yeah. Yeah, every year, and I've been doing this since I was, like, in my 20s. I'll take some time where I just say, all right, I'm going to get in my car, and I'm going to point it south or west or wherever, and I'm just going to drive, look at things that are interesting, and not really have any kind of plan other than to, see what's out there. So
nice. I like it.
I have never done that. That sounds so relaxing and liberating, and
it's awesome. I recommend it to anybody because, I mean, we live such structured lives, you know what I mean? So it's cool to do something spontaneous, especially since I'm a little bit prone to impulsive behavior. It's difficult for me to rein that in all the time. So it's nice to have like a week out of the year where I can just kind of, just knock off and like, hey, here's a highway sign for, I don't know, like, the world's biggest plastic dinosaur or something. Let me pull off and take a look at it. It's just that sort of thing, where there's no real plan, but, you end up having some pretty cool little adventures. But, so yeah, I made Slim's party part of that, essentially. And I decided to drive up to Pennsylvania, and along the way I stopped in Hershey, and I stopped in York, and I stopped at the Philadelphia Premium Outlets to hang out with Jed for 10 minutes before he followed me over to Slim's.
Yep.
So yeah, I was invited by Dennis, and it was the first time for me ever to meet Slim, which I thought was cool. I mean, in some way, I think it would have been cooler if Robert was there, because I used to call him Not So Slim, the Hammerman, when he was like. When he was doing all the hammer feats and he weighed like 270, I would call him Not So Slim the Hammerman. So that was kind of
doesn't fit anymore with Robert.
Does he listen to the show?
Because he's 30 pounds lighter than I am now.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Should have him check that on your scale.
Yeah. I probably will. He'll be here in a few weeks, I guess. So.
Hey, you want to hear something funny about hammers and scales, guys? Check this out. We were the grip challenge of the month at Reddit this month is like doing a sledgehammer finger walk for max weight, and you're trying to crawl it for 24 inches, right? So we've never done this, but for some reason we threw a 16-pound sledge on the scale. It weighed 16.8. We threw the 14-pound scale on that was the official hammer for the 2014 North.
It was heavier.
Yeah, it was 16.6 pounds. It was only 0.2 pounds less than the 16.
My 16 weighs almost as much as my 18 and has a way thicker handle. Huh. It's so much harder to do sledgehammer feats with than my 18 is. So I absolutely believe with that. Yeah. For sure.
It must be a very loose process, and the handles must really vary a lot. And those two factors combined together can turn out to make a really heavy hammer. But I mean, it's kind of interesting that the way that the scores are entered into the NAGS database is, 14 times the inches you are away from the head for the sledge choke, and really, you're dealing with a lot more force than that because of the actual head of the hammer weighing so much more. But that was something we came to figure out here in the last week or so at the gym. So go ahead with your story, James. Sorry for interrupting you.
Well, no, that's all right. I mean, it was really cool for me to meet Slim, because I think probably most people that listen to this show too, I've always been a big fan of different feats of strength, even before I was introduced to it myself. Like, even when I was just exclusively arm wrestling, I always thought that stuff was cool. And I met Dennis Rogers when I was arm wrestling at the Arnold's one year. And, I had noticed him. I was just like, oh, wow. I was like, Dennis Rogers. And he's like, yeah. And he was almost surprised that I knew who he was, kind of thing. And,
hold on. So what year was this, more or less? And at what stage of Dennis's career was he in? Was he arm wrestling?
No.
Okay.
This would have been probably, I'd have to look at the years that I competed at the Arnold. It would have been like 08 or 09, probably.
Okay.
I talked to him for a little bit, and it's just really cool to listen to Dennis. I had a chance to train with him too, and just, we get a lot of the history from him, about the Mighty Atom, about Slim. So for me, it was cool to meet Slim, and not just that, like Alan, he's got, in his yard, he's got like this shed kind of thing, but it's like a big shed, it's air conditioned, and it's just got like so much history in it. I mean, like Jed, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like just about every 2 inches, there's something, on the wall, whether it's a bent piece of steel or a wrench or a hammer or something, a picture, a broken chain, just all of this stuff from all of his history. And, one of the things Slim said was, this is my life. He said it several times.
Yep.
Like this in here is my whole life.
Newspaper clippings, framed bulletins, or, ads, the stuff that they would post up on the telephone poles, advertisements, things like that are all over. And everything's framed behind glass, like, so it's protected for ages. There's stuff hanging from the rafters, Alan, like, because it's a building. It's kind of like a garage basement, and it
wasn't like a training space. This was set perfectly with this kind of in mind, or is this like David Horn's kind of setup? It was, where he's got all that stuff on the wall, but then he's training in that area. How did that?
I equate it to like I guess it would kind of be a mixture between, David Horn's place and Don Larkin's place. Like, because Don Larkin's gym used to be a house, and then it's just like the rooms are blocked off into different training areas. So there's, I guess, like 2 main training areas divided by a wall, like a half wall in Slim's house. And then one half, when we walked in, had like a couple chairs in it and the floor platform for Slim's hammer feats. Then you went on the other side, and there was kind of like in one part there was an arm wrestling table, and then off to the side there was almost like a glass, the stuff that you'd see at a jewelry store or the jewelry area at Kmart, where it's glassed off and you could see kind of stuff in there like Slim's boots. And then there was like on that same side of the building there was, I don't know, James, what was that? Was that like a filing cabinet system or something like that of different things on that one side?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah,
desk,
it was like
desk or something.
Yeah, and it was just loaded up with like even more memorabilia that there wasn't wall space for. Yeah. I mean, it's just fascinating to think that, I mean, I think it was Chris Ryder had said that he had done shows with him up through like 2011 or 12. And I mean, gosh, how long before that did Slim start, if you think about it, right?
I don't know, man. I one thing I regret is not taking more pictures or like a walkthrough video, but sometimes that makes people uncomfortable, and I don't want to be that guy. So I didn't do it, but you know who ended up with a ton of great pictures was Don Cummings. Which
he did.
Hey everybody, we're going to try to have Don Cummings on next week to talk about his steel bending competition that he had almost probably 2 months ago now. So, but he was there as well. We tried to get him on short notice today so that he could join us with this in this talk, but he wasn't able to make it.
Yeah, and it was cool for me. It was really cool to hang out with Don there because Don. I was at Gripmas, and that's where I met Don, and that's where he was bending those. What are they? Double 60 penny nails. Yeah. And he bent. He set a record, one of Horn's records, bending those. But it was the first time I had a chance to really talk to him. And he's just a really nice guy, like an unbelievably genuine guy, and really loves bending steel. Very smart guy, Not to go too deep into it, but I think anyone who's been around Slim recently could tell that he's having some issues with memory. Not as bad as Jed's, but but he's having he's having some memory issues. And as many times as he asked Don like the same questions, Don answered him like it was the first time Slim was asking. He's just a really respectful kind of guy and a hell of a steel bender too, Don. So,
yeah, he's come so far. Like I wasn't really aware of Don before I first met him at Living Legends in 2016, and I didn't even know that he was a steel bender in 2016. He competed in the open class or whatever. So that was the first time I met him. And geez, fast forward 3 years, and he's setting bending records and bending. Pat Povolitis had brought some 60 pennies with him that were some of the most vicious 60 pennies he said he'd ever come across, and Don bent that like extremely easy.
Yeah,
when
when
we were there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was actually cool because I'd actually seen Pat perform before at the Arnold's too. I've seen him on, this TV show here and there, that sort of thing. But it was cool to just sit down and actually have a chance to talk to him too. So that was really the first time, other than, maybe being introduced to him at an Arnold Classic or something. It was the first time that I had a chance to chat with Pat. So that was pretty cool because, I think most of the people who listen would know who Pat is, right? You would think?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was really cool. And then I'm sure a lot of the listeners know who Chris Scheck is, Chris Wonder Scheck. He was there, and he was doing some long bar bending. It was cool for me to meet Steve Weiner, too. I like that dude. That dude's funny. He's I think one of my favorites was his Randy Macho Man Savage impression. That is legitimately one of the best impressions I think I've ever heard.
He saved the best for last, man. That was right before he took off. You're in the danger zone. There's your wrestling reference, Alan.
There you go. You knew it was coming. Yeah. So I brought a phone book with me, and it was this weird book. It wasn't much thicker than a book you would get in like a bigger city, but it had like this weird paper. It's funny. Dennis said that the paper was almost kind of like catalog paper. And I had been at Sorinex Summer Strong one year and saw Chris Ryder take textbooks and right in front of right in front of Derek Poundstone, who had just torn a phone book. He took this textbook and just obliterated it. And I'd never seen somebody do that with a hardcover book. And
really? Ripped it like a phone book?
Oh, he was destroying them.
Holy! I've never seen that. I never heard of somebody doing that.
Yeah. Well, I've seen it with my own eyes. It's
I'll be damned.
Wow. Yeah, Chris Ryder. So I had this phone book, and it wasn't in the best condition because I had taken a crack at it a bunch. Jason did, Gary did, Bob did. None of us were able to tear it, and beyond putting a couple of lines in it. You know what I mean? And And Dennis had said, he said, this book's going to take a while for anybody to rip because it's just not going to rip even. It's going to rip very jagged. And, after sitting there and staring at it for about 20 minutes on the table in front of him, finally Chris Ryder took a shot at it, and he tore it. I put it up on my Instagram, and I think I might have put it up on YouTube and Facebook. But, he tore it. And, we'll put it this way. It was harder for him to get through that phone book, I think, than it was the textbooks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did you take a stab at it, Jed?
No. You know what Jed did? Jed picked it up and looked at it and said, I could tear this.
I was pretty confident.
I love it.
Yeah.
I was pretty confident. I think I could have done it, but I'm glad someone did. That way, there's no question.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then, you know, it was cool to get up on the arm wrestling table with Dan Senendoza, too. Dan, you know who Dan is, Alan?
Yes. Yep. Familiar with the name. Yep.
Yeah. So Dan is a really good steel bender as well, too. And I think he runs, what is it, Baltimore Kettlebell Club, is it, Jed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was there, and it's cool because, you know, like, I've trained so many people in arm wrestling, it's unbelievable, you know. So I had a chance to kind of grip up with him and show him a few things. And my gosh, just one of the quickest learners that I've ever had on an arm wrestling table. I mean, it just all clicked so quickly for him, you know. So that was pretty cool, you know, to get up there and pull with him. And it was actually the first time I ever had a chance to grip up with Dennis on an arm wrestling table. So that was cool too, you know. Those were highlights for me.
Nice. You have Jed on the table?
No. I leaned against the table. I made sure it didn't fall over. I was there for safety.
How did that not take place?
What's that?
you guys tried arm wrestling? Yeah.
No, I didn't even expect there to be an arm wrestling table there.
Oh.
You know, I thought it was kind of interesting that, you know, I walked around the corner, and, you know, the funny thing was Slim had said to me, he goes, I did the challenge hammer, like, finally. You know what I mean? I finally did it because Chris Ryder gave me some pretty good tips on it, and Dennis did too. And then I figured out how to do the Slim lever with the challenge hammer. Like, I was just putting pressure in the wrong places kind of thing. So when I did it, Slim said, "That's nothing but a tack hammer." And then he said he wanted to show me something. And he led me around the corner to this arm wrestling table that was like 8 inches too high, probably. You know what I mean? With the pads kind of in the wrong place. He had like elbow pads for pin pads kind of thing. And he wanted to arm wrestle with me, you know, which I thought was kind of funny. And he was actually teaching me how to arm wrestle, which I thought was cool. He was showing me how to shoulder roll, though he didn't call it that. So, but it was cool, you know. I mean, I got into a pretty good conversation with him about some of the shows that he did, and it was nice to jog his memory a little bit because he had done a show at he did a show at a high school that, I'll just put it this way, I had history with. I'm not going to go into details, but I had some interesting history at this high school. He'd done a show there back in the 1980s, which I thought was really cool. And, you know, I was sort of asking him about that. And I talked to him, you know, a little bit about the Mighty Atom. And, you know, he was, when he was remembering things relatively clearly, you know, a lot of what he said was really interesting and very poignant, I thought. So yeah, that's a lot of my experience. What about you, Jed? What do you remember?
Well, I remember. Let's see. The one thing that I can point out is there's a performer out there that actually lives right by Slim, or grew up right near Slim. It's Tom Kelly, the Irish Anvil. You guys know him?
I've never heard that name.
Yeah, so he actually was at my house in like 2008 or something like that. Like this is back when John Eaton was still real active in grip. He somehow interacted with Tom Kelly and invited him up, and he came up to the house, and you know, we did like scale weight lifting and plate pinching. He showed us how to drive nails, stuff like that. So and then he has family up near where I went to college. So there's a town called Blossburg, right by Mansfield, Pennsylvania, and he's performed out there doing stuff, and we always talked about getting together to meet up when he came out, and never ended up happening. But he's a real good dude, so it was nice catching up with him. Chris Ryder, of course, Pat and Steve. I mean, those guys are Pat. You know, Pat I consider to be like a mentor of mine, especially along the lines of the steel bending, because he was like the biggest name in steel bending when I started. So, you know, I really wish I would have gotten a picture of Slim, and then Dennis, and then Pat, and then me, because that really is my lineage as far as the old-time strongman is, that side of the thing. So I really miss an opportunity because you don't know when that's going to happen again. And I think Slim's health is really good, and I think he's got a lot of years left here. But you just never know. When will the next party be, and will we all be there? That kind of thing. So I'm really hoping that next time that they have one, we're able to take that picture, because that would mean a lot to me. And that was like my regret. As soon as I left there, I was like, man, we never got that picture. So, and then, Pat came to, I want to say it was GGC 2005, and he and Steve came as well, and they did performances in between events at that contest, and it's actually on the DVD set. So it was either 04 or 05, I just can't remember now. And boy, and Smitty and I went down and trained with Pat and Steve one time. I mean, those guys are just great guys. It was awesome spending time with them. Some other dudes, I got to meet, I believe his name is Jim Bassnett.
That was the first
time I
met him, too.
might have the pronunciation off, but I've never met him before. He picked up an inch dumbbell from us maybe a year or two ago, and it's actually being used in contests in like West Virginia. So that was pretty cool to meet him. I know he bent some steel. There was a time, Alan, when, like, I don't know, maybe after like an hour or two of being there and everybody getting the chance to visit, then everybody kind of gathered around in a circle, and then one person would do a feat of strength, and they would complete it, and then the next person would go. So, for instance, at one point, John Menino came out and had either one or two of his really cool-looking Indian clubs and was swinging those around. John also had this, I forget what he calls it, but it's basically, those power twisters that are showing up all over the place, Alan, where it's like a big spring and you crank the handles together and you take it from like a straight spring shape and you curve it around so that it turns into like a light bulb shape.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I had one. I tried one when I was at Better's house in Dubai, like this in February of last year. It was pretty cool. I didn't know that people train with those, but like now they're coming out all over the place. Even like Silarukov sells one or two of them. But John had this plate steel one made way back when. I'm telling you, man, I think he had this thing back in like 2005. He had it up here. He had it at GGC contests. He had it at different places, all like everywhere. He had this thing, and I didn't know he still had it. But it's like these blue steel, flat plate steel sheets that are long. They're maybe like 3 inches thick and then maybe 3 inches long, and they all feed into handles so that you can do like a power twister motion and try to touch the handles together. I didn't try it, James. Did you get your hands on that at all while you were there?
I can't remember. I played around with his clubs a little bit, and he got a little mad at me because I put one down on the ground.
Ooh.
I didn't know they were like $400 wooden clubs from like Portugal, So I'm like, oh well,
Yeah.
I didn't know I didn't know if they like touched the ground, they would burst into flames, So
Sure.
and he was like, no, and I was like, whoa, sorry, man. I was like, my bad, like that,
John Menino was at the first contest that I ever went to, the Battle for Grip Supremacy. He walked right out of his truck, went to the inch dumbbell, and like popped it off the ground about, I don't know, it was a near clean. It looked like he tried to squat clean it. Like it was pretty impressive.
Yeah,
so
you could tell he's a strong guy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Even still, you could tell he's a strong guy. Yeah.
So many more guys were there.
There were so many.
Let's just start rattling off names. All right, everybody, let's stop it right there. That's part 1 of episode 102 of This Week in Grip. in just a couple days, we'll be coming at you with part 2 of episode 102. So in the meantime, make sure that you go down and you hit the thumbs up button to like this video. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe right now so you get notification as soon as part 2 comes out in a couple days. And before you leave, make sure that you leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the content so far in part 1 of episode 102, and we'll be back in just a little while. All the best in your training, everybody. See you next time in part 2 of episode 102 of This Week in Grill.